Good morning, everyone. I don't know about you, but I'm ready for summer. I've had enough winter. However, I guess today I bet is having more winter even than we are, maybe. Josh Nierenberg from Grand Junction. Good morning.
Good morning. Such a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure for all of us, and me especially. Is Grand Junction a ski place too?
Not necessarily. We have a ski area called Powderhorn that's only about 30 minutes from here, but we're lower elevation than Denver is.
Oh,
And interestingly, I think Denver's been a little warmer than we have so far this winter. So we're cold, but there's no snow on the ground.
we've had on and off snow, and it's pretty cold. But, well, you have all the wonderful summer stuff and wine. Okay, tell me about Josh Nierenberg. I know you were in Denver and you left and went to Grand Junction. I
That's right.
need a story all about you.
You got it. Well, I grew up in Denver. I'm a fourth generation Denver native.
Oh, okay.
I started in my restaurant career in Denver in my teens. We crossed paths several times while I worked with both Kevin Taylor and Sean Yance. Um, in 2007, kind of jumping ahead here, but my wife and I moved back to where she's from, which is Grand Junction. We met while we were working at a restaurant in Denver, in Cherry Creek North, actually. It's called Bob's Steak and Chop House. Um, which was, not necessarily important to the story, but the only reason I was there is I had been working with Sean Yance for some time, and we were trying to build out and open Chama in Belmar, and it was pretty delayed. So I took a job that was close to my house and was working at Bob's where I met my wife. Um, we opened that restaurant, Chama, and that was about the same time that they were working on El Diablo and Sketch and all of those First Street, that big nightmare that they had. And Jody and I decided to move here we said 2 years. Her dad was a partner in a building that housed a restaurant, and the person that owned the restaurant wanted to sell and get out of the restaurant industry. So we were going to take over the restaurant. She, as a realtor, would list it, and me, as a chef or operator, would run the restaurant. Um, at the end of those 2 years, it was 2009, which was kind of the beginning of the recession, and the recession hit here in Grand Junction pretty badly because at the time, Grand Junction was like 80% oil and gas. Uh, the economy, the makeup was about 80% oil and gas. And we saw the opportunity then to either go back and jump back into the Denver scene, which was very fickle then. It still is now, but
Yeah. And you're lucky.
exactly. Or we kind of had the opportunity. I wanted to do something different that I hadn't seen, and I wanted to do something that was representative of, the agriculture and the makers and the purveyors that were around us. Um, this is pretty well before that kind of farm to table movement really kicked in of the early 2010s. We're talking 2007, 2009, around there. Um, I had kind of become friends with Ben Parsons, and at the time, Ben Parsons was making wine at Sutcliffe in Durango. And it had occurred to me that up until then, my career was kind of defined by selling Argentinian free range beef and imported wines like our namesake Bin707, which were easier to procure than Colorado Cab Sauv was if I was in Denver. So the model was to try to build a restaurant that we could showcase where we are in the world. Um, so we opened Bin707, its first location in 2009. Then it was called Bin707 Food and Wine. The address was 707 Horizon Drive. Um, we made it through the recession and decided that this is kind of great, but our location was not perfect. So we moved to downtown Grand Junction in 2011. We opened as Bin707 Food Bar then. We stayed there until just last year. The dining room that I'm sitting in now is the new Bin 707, which is also still in downtown. It's about a block away from where we had been since 2011. We bought and built out this building. It was previously a restaurant that we, kind of made it quite a bit more contemporary and made it function really well. And it's beautiful. It's a gorgeous restaurant. So we opened this last Monday was 6 months.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, so it's still very shiny and new, despite the fact that we're a 15-year-old brand new restaurant, basically.
That's fabulous. And the old restaurant, is that now your taco party place?
No, we actually tried to do something else with the old restaurant. We closed Bin 707 and kind of reconceptualized it into a restaurant that was titled JoJo's Dinette.
Okay,
Uh,
that's the one I heard.
uh-huh. And JoJo's was a great concept on paper, and I still kind of love it and believe in it, but it just didn't work in that location. And the fact is that Ben did, 100 to 120 guests a day in that location at a $50 to $60 per person average. And when we switched it over, we dropped that to a $30 per person average with the same guest count. So it just didn't work. And we couldn't grow it fast enough. And that was set against us opening this restaurant a couple blocks away. So we were cannibalizing against our own clientele. Um, no, but Taco Party is our other restaurant that we opened in 2016. And the story for Taco Party is that that building that Ben was in was a leased building in a tall bank tower. Kind of looks just like the building over your shoulder in the background there. Um,
Okay.
and we were on the main floor of that restaurant or of that building.
Oh, okay.
So we had the opportunity to buy a building a couple of blocks away and convert it into a restaurant, but we weren't really confident that we wanted to move to that spot yet. And at the same time, Ben had sort of become this very busy, very notable kind of destination restaurant, despite the fact it was never really intended to do that. That's sort of how it was functioning. So I really wanted to create a restaurant that followed that same ethos that, very much a locavore, but kind of exploring, um, you know, cuisine from our region. I don't want to say Colorado cuisine, but I want to say, what does Southwestern United States cuisine look like if we are using sourcing of what's regionally available and if we're using foodways of, you know, not just what Southwestern looks like, but what our import and export channels and all of those things look like. So that was applied to Taco Party. How do we do that in a counter service model that's inexpensive and super accessible?
That's what I was going to ask. That's what I figured.
Um, and so out of that came Taco Party, which is a very, very creative expression of just it's an experimentation um, that it's framed in a taco, but we started in 2016. This is well before the kind of popularity of as masa has come to now. We started by sourcing Colorado grown blue corn and turning that into nixtamal to press our own tortillas with
Huh.
years ago, and really kind of exploring what we could do not only with nixtamal but with Colorado grown ingredients. And some of those ideas have stayed, some of those have evolved, but at the end of the day, what it still does is it's a quick service, counter service, ethos based, you know, seasonal, contemporary, Southwestern inspired restaurant.
Well, suits me. Little far for me to go every day. However, okay. Now, Bin 707, I want to hear. Tell me about what you do there in that restaurant. I know I have not been. I am going to get there. My foodie pals say it's the best place ever. So tell me about Grand Junction's Bin 707.
Well, sure. As I kind of started with, it was intended to be really seasonally driven and locally sourced. Um, we've been here long enough to shoot so many holes in that concept of what works and what doesn't. Um, I mean, we've been doing this as Bin707 long enough to tell you that the crops that I was buying 8 years ago don't even exist today. Most of the farmers I was buying them from are not farming today. Um, so I think that the short answer is that we are seasonally, regionally inspired, kind of contemporary American. The bigger picture is that we are not fine dining. We are not intended to be a destination worthy restaurant. We sell the bin burger, which keeps the lights on. And everything else is a lot of experimentation, but through that we've developed a lot of things that really work for us.
Okay, tell me some. Yeah, tell me a couple.
For example, one of the more notable menu items that we have is something that we've been doing for quite a while now. It's our elk tartare.
Oh,
We use a plum called an elephant heart plum that grows here in the Grand Valley. That was a slow food arc of taste item that we decided we could really kind of help to bring some popularity back to it. We use a Japanese technique to turn those plums into umeboshi, which is a preserved plum. That product then kind of produces a vinegar that we use. It produces the plum that is not sweet. It's almost more like an olive. So I use that to make a tapenade to season the elk with for the dish. We do I don't know if you can, oh, I don't have any back here, but that's topped with a béarnaise that's made with that same plum vinegar. Um, a crispy beef tenon that's just puffed like a giant Cheeto, and then a salad of frisee and herbs.
okay. This doesn't sound to me like it's just around the corner burger place. I
Right.
mean, I realize you have a burger, and I'll eat a burger anytime, any place. So I am a burger fan.
Sure.
But the rest of it, you said you've been doing this since you're a teen. Sounds to me like, did you go to cooking school or go around for finding all this?
Well, I think that like that dish, for example, that dish is a product of what's available to us. Elk, of
I would
course,
take a
plums, of
plum.
course.
A plum is a plum. Come
Sure.
on. Takes me a
Um,
long time to make a plum taste like an olive.
this is true. This is
Yeah.
true.
I'm
Uh,
sorry, I got lost at the plum.
the uh, we kind of developed this because of necessity, because we have these plums. And like a lot of the things that we do here, what can we do with this product? This product may not be ripe enough to sell. It may be a second, it may be whatever. And those plums are going to come back year after year. Whereas, uh, take for example, like a Badger Flame Beet, right? The Badger Flame Beet 2 years ago or 4 years ago was one of the more popular things on a menu. Now, to save my life, I can't find one in the Grand Valley. Um, so while the rest of those things sort of change, we have things like plums and apricots and peaches and so on and so forth that are here that we really, or elk that are here that we really try to use. And so that's where the menu direction has really come from.
Well, you must do a lot of, well, research, trials, coming up, dreaming up ideas to do
I
these.
think not so much research as just we just make a lot of mistakes.
So do I, but they don't
But
turn out like
you
yours.
know, we're also I could not be more grateful or lucky to have the crew that we have that I have. And I'll say that, you know, in our in our kitchens right now between Taco Party and Bin, there are a half dozen that have been with me for 10 years.
Oh, that makes a difference too.
So from that kind of R&D standpoint and that menu development standpoint, I've said this before, but we all kind of have developed, for lack of a better word, a language that we can communicate with, that we're all on the exact same page. So when I
Good.
say like let's do ume plums with elk here, or let's do the apricots and the style of the ume to turn into a puree to put onto a tostada with duck
Oh,
confit,
yeah, I think of that every.
you know, everybody in that conversation knows exactly what that outcome is going to be, where the sourcing is going to be. It's we don't start from the beginning. We start from an already kind of determined.
Well, it sounds to me like your crew and you and your creativity make it, as opposed to everybody who has all these problems, fun and wonderful to be doing what you're doing.
Sure, yeah, I think so. Um, it's also interesting being, doing what we're doing here in the Grand Valley because the Grand Valley is not, Grand Junction is not known for higher end restaurants. It's not known for dining. There is a good amount of Colorado wine country here, but the wine country isn't hasn't really always been destination wine country for wine tasting. It's more been wine production,
Right.
right? Um, and while that is slowly changing, and our friends Matt and Ashley that opened Pesh and Palisade are kind of blazing that trail as well. There are not a lot of us that are really sort of pushing the culinary envelope here, which means that workforce and clientele, there's a large educational piece that goes along with it, and it kind of prevents us from being able to take ourselves too seriously. Back to the burger. We've got to have that burger. We've got to have
I
really cool items on the menu alongside experimental, things.
Good for you. I mean, it sounds like your everyday experience living. I mean, from what you're telling me, and people who are watching this, I don't know Josh's restaurants at all to speak of. I just know him. That it sounds to me like your day is not always a drag. It sounds like it's got to be have some element of excitement and fun.
Right.
I mean, I'd want to come to your restaurant. It sounds like somebody is really caring, really trying, and having a good time, and the guests will have a good time.
I think that's a huge part of it. And, to that, we're talking about the kitchen, we're talking about the menu, but a big, big part of what we do here has to do with our hospitality and our service, and that's
Yes,
both
but it
counter
sounds
service
fun.
level and at our full service level. And the amount of investment by that staff and the amount of training that we hold everybody to. You asked about culinary school. I didn't go to culinary school. I went to industrial design school.
Okay,
And
most of
industrial
the really
design,
top chefs around really never went to culinary
sure,
school.
right. But in industrial design, take the idea of rapid prototyping and manufacturing of a product and
Yeah,
apply that to a restaurant. We're rapid prototyping an ingredient and turning that into a product. And in order to turn that into a product, it's not just what's on the plate. The product is the what the building looks like from the exterior. It's the service that you're eating. It's the greet. It's the
great.
degreet. It's all of these other touch points that make our product. And I think that that is where our staying power comes from, regardless of, what we have on the
I,
menu,
I
all of
totally agree.
that. Yeah.
I pick a place I want to go to all the time, not because it's got the best food every night. Their food's got to be obviously good, but it's a whole package
Yeah.
of how you feel when you're there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a target that for all of us is constantly moving, and the expectations are constantly changing. And, for us, it has a lot to do about what lane we're in. You know, we need to be in this approachable, affordable, um, fun place that our guests can count on us for. And that's true as much as taco party as it is here. So, on a 10, 15, $20 per person as it is on a 50, 60, $70 per person dinner, all of those baseline items are completely consistent.
All I can tell you is I wish I could come right now. That's how exciting we make this sound. But tell me about when are you open and all that?
So the taco party is 7 days a week, lunch and dinner.
Oh,
Uh, And you know, it that's changed a couple of times, but we're back to operating that way, which is great. And that's what it's always intended to be. Right now, Ben is doing dinner only 6 nights a week,
What night are you closed?
or we're closed on Sundays. For
Okay.
frame of reference, when I opened Ben in our second location, a block and a half from here, we were open for brunch, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week.
Okay.
So we are definitely not doing as much as we were, and the ability for us to expand here exists. So I'd like to see 7 days a week within the next 6 months. So by the end of our first year, and we'll probably follow that with lunch at least 5 days a week,
Oh,
sometime in that time frame.
oh, because a lot of the places here think dinner is about as far as they want to go. But I
Yeah, but
assume you have more tourists there.
we do. It is our tourist season is about March or April till about October. Um, but our new location, so we're basically on the corner of Main Street and Main Street. We're on Fourth and Main, and Main is First through Eighth, right? So we are smack dab in the middle of Main Street.
How many seats do you have
We have about 100.
there? Oh,
Um,
uh,
kind of, if you can see over my shoulder here through that window, that is a enclosed heated patio. It's a
yes,
little too cold to run it right now, but as soon as that kicks back up, which will probably be by the end of February, we'll be at about 110 seats.
good for you. Okay, so you're open dinner only, but people will have to look it up and keep track, or if you keep me informed,
Uh-huh.
I'll tell people. And you take reservations, I assume.
Well, yes, a big item of contention. We now take reservations. We have since we opened here for the first time ever. So we've operated until 6 months ago by never taking a reservation.
Yikes.
Um, and the idea now, as it was then, is that you you can come to the restaurant and be fed, and it's not a to do, and you don't need to have a reservation. We'll take you as you are. We'll find room for you, whatever that is.
Oh, okay. I assume you have a great bar and liquor
Yeah.
program too to
Yep.
keep
Very
people.
much so.
Yes,
Yep.
good
Yeah,
for you.
so that's worked really well. We do take reservations through Talk, and reservations are available on our website, and we're still trying to, kind of dial that in. Um, but so far it's been working pretty well. And, as with before and with now, we're not turning people away. So if you show up at 7 o'clock on a Saturday without a reservation, we're going to find a way to get you fed.
You'll be surprised when you see me show up with someone. Hi there, guess who's coming to dinner?
Yep.
It sounds wonderful.
Well,
Okay, tell me your website.
the website is easy. It's www.bin707, bin707.com.
Okay. Hours are 6 nights a week for dinner.
6 nights a week, 4:30 until we're done. Usually,
Okay. And do you want to give a phone number? You gave you're on Fourth and Main.
we're on Fourth and Main. I would tell you the phone number if I knew it, but
Okay,
honestly,
well,
I
I
don't even
don't
have
know
a
it
phone in the
either.
dining room.
Okay, so I can't help you because
Yeah.
I happen not to know this.
Yep.
And well, there's no I assume now you're around for all there's no holidays like Christmas and New Year's.
Right. We are typically closed on holiday days. We for as of right now for the next 6 months, we are pretty much open.
Except for
Um,
Super
and
Bowl.
as I said, hopefully, I'm gonna say 7 nights a week. By the end of March, we'll be 7 nights a week, and if all goes well, by midsummer we'll be doing lunch as well.
Well, I hope I don't have to wait for a happening in Denver to see you again. And to everybody who is watching, I am trying to beg Josh to find a way to get down here for maybe one of our events as well. And in the meantime, please like and subscribe to the Gabb. It's GABB / Gabby Gourmet on YouTube and on Facebook and Instagram. I'm just Gabby Gourmet. I don't know how this got so fancy, but somebody putting it up got a little carried away. In the meantime, it's always wonderful to see you. You are fabulous. Everybody here misses you, but we all know you're doing great things.
Well, thank you so much. It's, as I said, such a pleasure to be on the show, and it was so nice to run into you a couple of weeks back. Can't wait to see you
My
again.
treat. Okay. I I'll make a reservation, but I'll get up there and I hope to see you here and there so soon. So
As well. Thank you very
stay
much.
well. Have a great weekend. Everybody else, enjoy the cold. Much love. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, sweet.